The days following the discovery of Emily's diary were filled with frantic searches and mounting tension. Detective Mitchell coordinated teams to comb through the dense woods surrounding the cabin, hoping to find any trace of the Johnson family. The forest was thick and unforgiving, with tangled underbrush and hidden ravines that made the search difficult and dangerous. Yet, every step forward seemed to deepen the mystery rather than solve it. The footprints found near the cabin were unlike any the investigators had seen before. They were large, irregular, and seemed to appear and disappear without pattern, as if whoever, or whatever, had made them was moving with unnatural stealth. Broken branches and crushed foliage suggested a struggle, but no blood or personal belongings were found. It was as if the family had been taken without a fight, or worse, had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, the town was gripped by fear. Parents kept their children close, and the once bustling streets grew quiet after dark. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed to have seen shadowy figures lurking near the Johnson home. Others whispered about strange lights flickering in the woods at night. The local police were overwhelmed with calls, but no concrete leads emerged. Detective Mitchell found herself haunted by the case. She spent long nights poring over reports, maps, and witness statements, searching for a pattern or a clue that others had missed. The more she learned, the more she realized that the Johnson disappearance was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. She uncovered reports of other families who had vanished over the past decade, all under eerily similar circumstances. Empty homes, meals left unfinished, pets left behind, and no signs of forced entry or struggle. Each case was a mirror of the last, a chilling echo of the same nightmare. One name kept appearing in the background, and an elusive figure known only as the Watcher. Locals described him as a man who never stayed in one place for long, someone who seemed to know the town's secrets and moved through the shadows unnoticed. No one had ever seen his face clearly, but his presence was felt everywhere. Theories abounded. Some believed the Watcher was a serial kidnapper. Others thought he was connected to a cult or a secret society operating in the area. Detective Mitchell remained skeptical, but knew that finding this man was key to solving the case. Her breakthrough came unexpectedly. A local woman, shaken and reluctant, came forward with information. She claimed to have seen a man matching the Watcher's description near the Johnson home on the day they disappeared. He was watching the family, she said, moving silently and blending into the background like a ghost. The woman's testimony gave the investigation new life. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses was reviewed, and a blurry figure was spotted lurking near the Johnson property in the days leading up to their disappearance. Though the image was grainy, it was enough to confirm that someone had been watching the family. Detective Mitchell assembled a task force to track down this mysterious figure. They scoured the town, interviewed anyone who might have seen or heard something, and followed every lead, no matter how small. The pressure was immense, but the detective refused to give up. As the search intensified, strange occurrences began to plague the investigators. Equipment malfunctioned inexplicably. Radios lost signal, and some officers reported feeling watched or followed. The forest seemed to resist their presence, as if protecting its secrets. One night, while reviewing footage from a hidden camera near the Johnson home, Detective Mitchell saw something that chilled her to the bone. A shadowy figure moved silently through the yard, pausing at the window where the family had last been seen. The figure's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and for a moment, it seemed to stare directly into the camera. The image was brief but unmistakable. The Watcher was real, and he was still out there. Determined to catch him, the task force set a trap. They installed motion sensors and infrared cameras around the Johnson property and nearby woods, hoping to catch the watcher in the act. Days passed with no sign, but then, just before dawn, the sensors were triggered. The footage showed a man moving with unnatural grace and silence, slipping through the trees like a shadow. He carried a small bag and paused at the edge of the property, looking around cautiously. Then, without warning, he vanished into the darkness. The man was never caught, but the evidence confirmed what everyone feared. The Johnson family had been taken by someone who knew the land and the people intimately, someone who could disappear without a trace. The case remained open, a haunting reminder of the thin line between safety and terror. Detective Mitchell continued her work, driven by the hope that one day the Johnson family would be found and the silence of their house would finally be broken. The investigation took a darker turn when Detective Mitchell uncovered a series of old, forgotten cases buried deep in the police archives. These cases, spanning over 2 decades, shared the same chilling hallmarks: families disappearing without a trace, homes left untouched, meals abandoned on tables, and no signs of forced entry or struggle. The eerie pattern was undeniable, and the townspeople began to whisper about a curse or something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface. One case stood out: a family that vanished nearly 20 years ago under almost identical circumstances. The house was found locked from the inside, the dinner table set, and the family gone. The only clue was a strange symbol carved into the wooden doorframe, a symbol that no one could decipher. Detective Mitchell had the symbol photographed and sent to experts in ancient languages and occult studies, hoping for answers. Meanwhile, the community's fear grew. Local gatherings were tinged with unease, and parents kept their children indoors after dark. The once vibrant town was now shadowed by suspicion and dread. Some residents claimed to have seen flickering lights in the woods or heard unexplainable noises at night. Others spoke of a figure, tall and silent, who watched from the tree line but vanished when approached. Detective Mitchell's team worked tirelessly, following every lead and interviewing anyone who might hold a piece of the puzzle. They discovered that the missing families all lived near dense forests or abandoned properties, places where the boundary between the known and unknown seemed to blur. The detective began to suspect that the disappearances were connected to something ancient, something that had been hiding in the shadows for generations. One night, while reviewing surveillance footage from a camera placed near the Johnson home, a chilling discovery was made. A shadowy figure appeared, moving with unnatural speed and silence. The figure paused at the window, as if peering inside, before disappearing into the darkness. The image was grainy, but the glowing eyes were unmistakable. The figure was dubbed the Watcher by the media, a name that sent shivers down the spines of the townspeople. The Watcher became the face of the mystery, a symbol of the unknown terror that had gripped the community. Detective Mitchell knew that capturing this figure was crucial to solving the case and bringing peace to the families affected. The task force intensified their efforts, setting traps and increasing patrols around the affected areas. They installed motion sensors, infrared cameras, and even enlisted the help of trackers and experts in wilderness survival. Despite their efforts, the Watcher remained elusive, slipping through their grasp like a ghost. The forest seemed to resist their intrusion, as if alive and aware of their every move. Detective Mitchell herself experienced unsettling moments. Late one evening, while alone in the Johnson home reviewing evidence, She heard faint whispers and footsteps echoing through the empty rooms. Shadows flickered at the edge of her vision, and a cold chill settled over her. She knew then that the house held secrets far darker than she had imagined. Determined to uncover the truth, Mitchell sought the help of a local historian and folklore expert. Together, they delved into the town's past, uncovering tales of ancient rituals, lost tribes, and dark pacts made long ago. The forest, they learned, was once sacred ground, a place where the veil between worlds was thin. The historian revealed that the strange symbol found on the old missing family's doorframe was linked to a protective ward, meant to keep evil spirits at bay. Its presence suggested that someone had tried to fight back against the darkness, but had ultimately failed. Armed with this knowledge, Detective Mitchell planned a final expedition into the heart of the forest. She assembled a small team of trusted officers and experts, prepared to face whatever awaited them. The goal was clear: find the missing families, confront the Watcher, and end the nightmare once and for all. The journey into the forest was fraught with tension. The trees seemed to close in around them, the air thick with an unnatural silence. Every crack of a twig or rustle of leaves set their nerves on edge. As they ventured deeper, the team discovered more signs of the missing families: discarded belongings, faint footprints, and strange symbols carved into the bark of ancient trees. At the center of the forest, they found a clearing unlike any other. The ground was scorched, and the air was heavy with the scent of smoke and decay. In the middle stood a stone altar covered in moss and etched with the same protective symbols found on the doorframe. Suddenly, a chilling howl pierced the silence, and the team froze. From the shadows emerged the Watcher, tall and spectral, eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The figure moved with unnatural speed, circling the group and whispering words in a language no one understood. The confrontation was brief, but intense. The Watcher vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind a sense of dread and a single clue: a small, ancient amulet inscribed with the protective symbol. Detective Mitchell took the amulet as a sign that the battle was far from over, but that hope remained. The forest's secrets were slowly unraveling, and with each discovery, the path to finding the missing families became clearer. Back in town, the community rallied around the investigation, offering support and sharing stories. The Johnson family's disappearance was no longer an isolated tragedy, but part of a larger fight against an ancient darkness. Detective Mitchell vowed to continue her pursuit of the truth, knowing that the silence of the house would one day be broken, and the missing would be found. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity and mounting tension. Detective Mitchell and her team pored over every piece of evidence, every witness statement, and every scrap of information they could find. The amulet became a focal point of their investigation, a tangible link to the ancient forces that seemed to grip the town in fear. Experts in archaeology and folklore were brought in to study the amulet. They confirmed it was centuries old, crafted by a long-lost civilization that had once inhabited the region. The symbols etched into its surface were protective in nature, designed to ward off evil spirits and dark entities. Yet, despite its power, the amulet had failed to protect the families from disappearing entities. Yet, despite its power, the amulet had failed to protect the families from disappearing. The detective realized that the amulet was not just a protective charm, but also a key to understanding the forest's dark history and the malevolent force that had taken so many lives. It was a clue that the battle between light and darkness was ongoing, and the forest was the battleground. Meanwhile, the town remained on edge. Strange occurrences continued to unsettle the residents. Lights flickered inexplicably, animals behaved erratically, and an unshakable feeling of being watched permeated the air. The forest, once a place of beauty and refuge, had become a source of dread. Detective Mitchell organized community meetings to keep the public informed and to gather any new information. She urged caution, but also encouraged hope, reminding everyone that the investigation was far from over. One evening, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young boy, playing near the edge of the forest, found a hidden path obscured by thick undergrowth. Curious, he followed it and stumbled upon a small, concealed cave entrance. Inside, he discovered remnants of a campsite. Old blankets, a rusted lantern, and a worn photograph of the Johnson family. The discovery reignited the investigation. The cave was mapped and explored by the task force, revealing a network of tunnels and chambers beneath the forest floor. The walls were covered in the same protective symbols found on the amulet and the old door frame, suggesting that someone had tried to create a sanctuary or a prison. As the team ventured deeper into the tunnels, they found signs of recent activity. Footprints, discarded food wrappers, and makeshift bedding. It was clear that someone or something was still living underground, hidden from the world above. The atmosphere grew heavier with each step, the air thick with the sea net of earth and decay. Strange noises echoed through the tunnels, whispers, footsteps, and the occasional distant cry. The team pressed on, determined to find the missing families and bring them to safety. Suddenly, they came upon a chamber filled with eerie light. In the center stood a figure, cloaked in shadows, its eyes glowing with the same otherworldly light as the Watcher. The figure spoke in a voice that was both ancient and chilling, warning the team to leave or face the consequences. Detective Mitchell stood her ground, demanding answers. The figure revealed that it was a guardian, bound to the forest to protect its secrets and maintain the balance between worlds. It explained that the disappearances were the result of a breach, a tear in the veil separating the living from the supernatural. The families had been taken to protect them from a greater evil lurking beyond the veil. But the Guardian's power was limited. It pleaded for help to seal the breach and restore peace to the forest and the town. With this revelation, the investigation took on a new urgency. The task force worked alongside the Guardian, performing ancient rituals and using the amulet to strengthen the protective wards. The community came together, offering support and participating in ceremonies to honor the forest and its spirits. Slowly, the forest began to heal. The oppressive silence lifted, replaced by the sounds of life and renewal. The missing families were found, disoriented but alive, hidden in a safe realm beyond the veil. Their return brought joy and relief, but also a reminder of the fragile boundary between worlds. Detective Mitchell reflected on the journey, the darkness they had faced, the secrets uncovered, and the resilience of the human spirit. The house that had once been silent was now filled with life and laughter once more. Yet she knew the forest's mysteries were far from fully understood. The balance was delicate, and vigilance was necessary to protect the town from future threats. As the sun set over the quiet town, the detective stood at the edge of the forest, watching the shadows lengthen. The silence was no longer empty, but filled with promise. A promise that the past would not be forgotten and the future would be guarded.